Hello and welcome to a new video about language learning apps. And today we're going to talk about HelloTalk and Tandem. Now these were the last two that I've used. I'd say I was using them the whole time I was doing Duolingo, so I used them for about 2 to 3 months pretty straight through. And I have to say they weren't bad. It's a whole different style of learning. So the way that these apps work is it's kind of like social media, and you go on and you get matched with partners who speak the language you want to learn, and in return you speak the language they want to learn. You help each other out. All works out great. Well, in theory. So between the two apps, HelloTalk is vastly better, like night and day. Tandem almost feels like it's a cheap knockoff version of HelloTalk, and we'll get into that here in just a second. So the way it works, once you find the person, you can send them messages in whichever language you choose. You kind of discuss it with them and say, do you want to learn, my language today or your language today? And you work out an arrangement. So there's a lot of people on these apps, and there seems to be a lot of new, high turnover rates, kind of what it feels like, really. So you'll have people who are brand new, who are messaging a bunch of people trying to find, just anybody to talk to. And then you'll have people who have been on there for a long time, who have all kinds of chats. And you build up like this running score. It's kind of like a Duolingo streak, I guess you can call it. Let's say this person has been learning for X amount of days and has been on for this many days in a row. It'll specify that. So it kind of gives you, without saying it outright, it gives you a way to just tell if that person is going to be active and respond to you. Doesn't always work. I've messaged people who just didn't respond, and then you don't really know why. I mean, some people might just not want to talk. Some people might not be using the app anymore. It's really hard to say. So the big difference is HelloTalk has a second aspect to it that Tandem does not. HelloTalk also has kind of like a Facebook feeling aspect where you can post not comments, you can post posts and pictures, and they're called moments. So you can put up a picture and say this is food from my country, or you can put up questions or put up things and say correct my insert language here, and then people can respond and do corrections. They can also do corrections in the chat, but this is just another way to do it. Another feature is live talking sessions, where you can have people in a group chat where you're actually talking to each other. Usually they're voice chats. You can do video chats one-on-one with people, but typically you're just doing like a voice room, I think is actually the word that they use. And you can talk to each other. I believe you can have up to 8 participants actively speaking to each other, and I've seen upwards of 16 people just listening in. So you don't have to be involved actively. You can be watching everything go on, and there's a little chat. You can still chat in there. Of course, if you want to request that you go in, you say, hey, anybody want to let me in? Maybe somebody will jump down. There's a lot to it. Now, Tandem is missing the social media aspects, but I do believe it has the voice rooms. I never used the one in Tandem because Tandem as a whole feels like it's lacking stuff. So Tandem is a little more pushy at trying to get you to come back. It'll pretend you have somebody waiting to talk to you. It'll say, so-and-so is waiting to have a conversation. But what it's actually doing is just picking somebody at random and trying to match you up. Now, I don't usually respond to that because most people it does that to aren't going to respond anyway. And with HelloTalk, it's a little more like you can go to a section of the app that just gives you everybody, and you can sort them by most active, most chats in your area. I think you have to pay for that to have people in your area. Funny enough, on Tandem, I actually did find somebody who was within 30 minutes of my area. I guess they were able to search. I don't know if they paid for the search just to see who was around them. But sometimes after a while, though, the apps get a little funny. HelloTalk has an issue with, let's say you're chatting with somebody for 30 minutes. Sometimes the chat won't auto scroll up like it's supposed to, and it'll seem like nothing is responding, and you scroll up, oh, they've sent me 3 messages. I just never saw it. Tandem has more of a problem of you're just not going to get notified sometimes for like 10, 15 minutes. And then it's like, oh, yeah, you have messages. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. And it even tells you when they were sent. It just doesn't come through properly. I don't know if that was just a problem I was having. I mean, it's on the Android platform. My Android is a Google Pixel, so it's the latest and greatest of operating system. Don't know if that was the problem. It's really hard to say. I don't have an iPhone to test this stuff out on. But between the two, I recommend HelloTalk. Um, is it effective? Yeah, I'd say so. You definitely learn. You say a lot of the same sentences over and over. If every time you have a new chat with somebody, it's usually like, "Hi, how are you? What do you do for work? What do you do in your area? Where do you live?" Stuff like that. You get really good at that very quick. Some people you'll get a little more in depth with, and possibly like have a full conversation. Some people I spoke with said they preferred to like move to other texting apps just because they didn't like the app, which I agreed fully with them. I wasn't against, we would use things like Discord or Telegraph, something that, it wasn't like you giving out personal information, but, because just the app in general didn't always function the way you wanted it to. You can't send gifts to people in either one of them. So that was something that we usually like, once we were off that platform, then, you could send stuff like that to each other. But overall, it does work within reason. So one of the big problems I was having was like most of the people I was talking to just want to have general conversations. They're not really like, they're not people who are, they don't know how to teach you. Like even myself, like when people wanted me to teach them English, I'd be like, okay, well, what do you already know? And sometimes they had a hard time really saying what they knew, which I know that's hard to list every word you know in a language. That's a lot of words sometimes. But then I would just be like, okay, let me send you 3 emojis of fruit, and you tell me what that is in English, and then I can make sure you're correct or tell you what it is. And that's how I went about teaching people English. Now, there was some people who were teaching Spanish. To me, one of them was actually a genuine teacher. One of them was also making a YouTube series about how to teach languages. So there's people out there that do really know what they're doing. But then it came down to the whole time aspect. This is not something that you're going to really do as like a casual background thing. Like most people treat Duolingo as something that you can like, let me hop into this for 5 minutes. Let me do a thing so I keep my streak going. This isn't like that because you have real people you're speaking with that are expecting conversation back. And yeah, you could, in theory, like send a message when you're available and they'll send a message when they're available. But it's not really a way to have a conversation. And that's, you take the learning aspect out of this and throw that into like just talking to people in general. It's like writing them physical letters. Like, oh yeah, here's one sentence. Let me send that to you, and then we see what you say. Yeah, you have to commit a lot of time to this, and I was finding very quickly that I did not wish to commit that much time of my day to it. Because, some of these people, they're messaging you 10 o'clock in the morning. Because you can jump time zones. I was talking to somebody in Tunisia, and that's like 8 hours into 8 hours ahead of where I'm at. And, they could be messaging you at any time of the day, and then it's like, some of them, if you don't respond fast enough, then they just give up on the app. If somebody's going there for the first time and they message a bunch of people, nobody responds, you delete the app. That's just kind of how it feels. It's a very time-committed sort of way of learning. But it's something to at least check out, even if you just like, say for like a weekend, try it out, message a few people. You might like it. You might find it to be a little overwhelming, because I think that's what I ended up feeling towards the end. It was just too much, too often. Because yeah, I was really attempting to learn languages full force, spending as much free time as I could doing it, and it just kind of burns you out in a way. But it's some people are into that. I've seen people on YouTube who's they're like a full-time job, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, they're learning languages. So that's how I felt about it. I might poke around with some other apps. But in the meantime, I have some other videos planned, and I'll see you in the next one.